What is the main difference between living and non-living things? The options are A. Living things can reproduce, while non-living things cannot. B. Living things can grow and develop, while non-living things cannot. C. Living things can respond to stimuli, while non-living things cannot. D. All of the above. The answer is D. All of the above. Because living things possess all of the mentioned characteristics, they can reproduce, grow and develop and respond to stimuli. These features distinguish them from non-living things, which lack these abilities. What is the purpose of life? The option A. To survive and reproduce. Option B is to seek happiness. Option C. To find meaning and purpose. Option D is there is no specific purpose. The answer is D. There is no specific purpose. This perspective suggests that life does not have an inherent or predetermined purpose. It acknowledges that the question of life's purpose is subjective and open to individual interpretation. According to this viewpoint, individuals have the freedom to create their own purpose and meaning in life based on their personal beliefs, values, and aspirations. It encourages individuals to explore and define their own sense of purpose, finding fulfillment and satisfaction through their own chosen path. This perspective aligns with existentialist philosophies that emphasize personal responsibility and the importance of self-determination in shaping one's own life. The next question is: which of the following is not a characteristic of living things? A. Ability to grow and develop. B. Ability to respond to stimuli. C. Ability to reproduce. D. Inability to change or evolve over time. The answer is option D. Inability to change or evolve over time. This is because one of the defining characteristics of living things is their ability to change and evolve over time. Living organisms have the capacity to adapt to their environment and undergo genetic changes through the process of evolution. This characteristic allows them to survive and thrive in changing conditions. Therefore, the inability to change or evolve over time is not a characteristic of living things. What are the different habitats in which we find living organisms? A. Cold mountains. B. Deciduous forests. C. Oceans. D. All of the above. The answer is all of the above. Living organisms can be found in various habitats such as cold mountains, deciduous forests, and oceans. Therefore, the correct answer is all of the above. The next question is: what are the factors that influence ecological conflict and cooperation? A. Competition for resources. B. Predation and herbivory. C. Mutualism and symbiosis. D. All of the above. The answer is all of the above. Ecological conflict and cooperation are influenced by various factors, including competition for resources, predation and herbivory, and mutualism and symbiosis. These interactions shape how organisms interact and coexist within ecosystems. Therefore, the correct answer is D. All of the above. What are the twin characteristics of growth in living organisms? A. Increase in mass and decrease in number of individuals. B. Decrease in mass and increase in number of individuals. C. Increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. D. Decrease in mass and decrease in number of individuals. The answer is option C. Increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. The twin characteristics of growth in living organisms are an increase in mass, size, and an increase in the number of individuals. As living organisms develop and mature, they experience a growth in size or mass, which is typically due to the accumulation of cells, tissues, and other biological components. Additionally, many living organisms can reproduce and produce new individuals, resulting in an increase in their population. These two characteristics of growth are fundamental to the survival and continuation of species in the natural world. Where does growth occur in multicellular organisms? A. By cell division. B. By accumulation of material on the surface. C. From outside. D. None of the above. The correct answer is A. By cell division. Growth in multicellular organisms occurs primarily through cell division. As multicellular organisms develop and increase in size, their cells undergo the process of division, where a single cell splits into two or more daughter cells. These daughter cells then grow and differentiate into specialized cells, contributing to the overall growth and development of the organism. The accumulation of cells and their subsequent division is a fundamental process that allows multicellular organisms to grow, repair damaged tissues, and replace old or dying cells. The next question is: what is the observation of growth in unicellular organisms? A. It can be easily observed by counting the number of cells under the microscope. B. It is not easily observed. C. It occurs only in vitro cultures. D. None of the above. The correct answer is: it can be easily observed by counting the number of cells under the microscope. Explanation: growth in unicellular organisms can be readily observed by counting the number of cells under a microscope. Unicellular organisms, being single-celled, primarily grow by increasing their cell number through cell division. As they divide, one cell becomes two become four, and so on. By monitoring the increase in cell numbers over time, scientists can track the growth of unicellular organisms in a controlled environment. What is the difference between growth and reproduction in single-celled organisms? A. Growth is equivalent to increase in cell number, while reproduction refers to the production of progeny. B. They are synonymous. C. Growth refers to increase in cell mass, while reproduction refers to the production of progeny. The correct answer is: they are synonymous. This is because in single-celled organisms, particularly with organisms like bacteria and protists, reproduction and growth are often synonymous. This is because these organisms typically reproduce asexually through processes like binary fission, where one cell divides into two identical daughter cells. During this process of asexual reproduction, the cell undergoes growth, and then the parent cell splits into two, leading to an increase in cell number. In such cases, reproduction is indeed equivalent to the increase in cell number, and the terms growth and reproduction can be used interchangeably. What is the role of metabolic reactions in living organisms? A. They are a defining feature of all living organisms. B. They can be demonstrated outside the body of an organism, but are not considered living things. C. They are only present in multicellular organisms. The answer is A. They are a defining feature of all living organisms. Metabolic reactions are a defining feature of all living organisms. These reactions involve the complex network of chemical processes that occur within cells to sustain life. Metabolism is responsible for various essential functions, including the conversion of nutrients into energy, the synthesis of molecules needed for growth and repair, and the regulation of various cellular activities. Metabolic reactions are specific to living organisms and are not observed in non-living entities. They are an essential characteristic that sets living organisms apart from non-living matter. What is the role of environmental awareness in living organisms? A. It is a defining feature of all living organisms. B. It is only present in human beings. C. It is only present in multicellular organisms. The correct answer is A. It is a defining feature of all living organisms. Environmental awareness, also known as environmental sensitivity or responsiveness, is a defining feature of all living organisms. It refers to an organism's ability to perceive and respond to changes in its environment. This response can be behavioral, physiological, or even genetic, depending on the complexity of the organism. Environmental awareness allows living organisms to adapt to their surroundings, seek favorable conditions, and respond to potential threats. It is a crucial aspect of survival and plays a significant role in the evolutionary process. While human beings, being highly evolved, demonstrate a more complex and developed form of environmental awareness, this characteristic is not limited to humans alone. It is present in all living organisms, ranging from simple single-celled organisms to highly advanced multicellular organisms. In summary, environmental awareness is an intrinsic feature of life, enabling living organisms to interact with their surroundings and make necessary adjustments to thrive and survive. What is the relationship between living organisms and evolution? A. Evolution is the story of life on Earth. B. Evolution is only related to human beings. C. Evolution has nothing to do with living organisms. The correct answer is A. Evolution is the story of life on Earth. Evolution is a fundamental biological concept that describes the process of how living organisms have changed and diversified over time. It is the process through which new species arise from pre-existing species through mechanisms like natural selection, genetic drift, and genetic mutation. Evolution is not limited to human beings, it encompasses all living organisms on Earth. It is the unifying framework that explains the diversity of life and how different species are related through common ancestors. From the tiniest microorganisms to the largest animals, all living organisms have been shaped by the forces of evolution over millions of years. The study of evolution is not just limited to human beings, it involves understanding how all life forms on Earth have adapted and changed to fit their environments, leading to the vast array of species that exist today. What is nomenclature? A. The study of living organisms. B. The standardization of naming of living organisms. C. The process of classification of living organisms. D. The description of living organisms. The correct answer is B. The standardization of naming of living organisms. Nomenclature refers to the system of rules and principles used to assign standardized names to living organisms. In the scientific field of biology, it is essential to have a consistent and universally recognized method of naming different species to avoid confusion and ensure effective communication among researchers and scientists worldwide. What is binomial nomenclature? A. A system of providing a name with two components. B. A system of providing a name with three components. C. A system of providing a name with one component. D. A system of providing a name with four components. The correct answer is A. A system of providing a name with two components. Binomial nomenclature is a system of naming living organisms with a two-part scientific name. It was introduced by the Swedish botanist and zoologist Carl Linnaeus in the 18th century as a way to standardize the naming of different species. In this system, each species is given a unique name composed of two parts, the genus name and the specific epithet. The genus name is written first and starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet follows in lowercase. Both parts are typically written in italics or underlined when handwritten. For example, Homo sapiens, where Homo is the genus name representing the human genus, and sapiens is the specific epithet for modern humans. Panthera leo, where Panthera is the genus name representing the big cat genus, and leo is the specific epithet for the species lion. What is the purpose of classification of living organisms? A. To describe living organisms. B. To standardize the naming of living organisms. C. To group living organisms into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. D. To understand the relationships between living organisms. The correct answer is C. To group living organisms into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. The purpose of the classification of living organisms, also known as taxonomy, is to group and categorize them into convenient and organized categories based on their shared characteristics. Taxonomy is a hierarchical system that organizes living organisms into progressively broader groups based on similarities and evolutionary relationships. By grouping organisms into categories, taxonomists make it easier to study and understand the vast diversity of life on Earth. This process involves identifying common traits or easily observable characteristics shared by different organisms and using these similarities to place them into appropriate groups. For example, a biologist studying birds can use taxonomy to place various bird species into different groups based on their similarities in anatomy, behavior, or genetic relatedness. This grouping enables researchers to identify patterns, understand evolutionary relationships, and gain insights into the diversification of life over time. In summary, the purpose of classification, taxonomy, is to organize living organisms into convenient categories based on observable characteristics, allowing scientists to study, compare, and understand the relationships and diversity of life on our planet. The next question is: what is the first word in a biological name called? A. Specific epithet. B. Author name. C. Genus. D. Taxa. The correct answer is C. Genus. In the binomial nomenclature system used for biological names, the first word is called the genus. Binomial nomenclature is a system of providing a two-part scientific name for each species, where the first part represents the genus to which the species belongs. The genus name is always written with an initial capital letter. For example, in the scientific name Homo sapiens, Homo is the genus representing the human genus. Similarly, in Panthera leo, Panthera is the genus representing the big cat genus, which includes lions. What is classification in biology? A. The study of organisms and their grouping into categories based on their similarities and differences. B. The study of plants and their growth patterns. C. The study of animals and their behavior. D. The study of cells and their functions. The correct answer is A. The study of organisms and their grouping into categories based on their similarities and differences. Classification in biology refers to the process of studying living organisms and organizing them into groups or categories based on their shared characteristics and evolutionary relationships. Taxonomy is the specific field of biology that focuses on the classification and identification of living organisms. Classification is fundamental to biology as it provides a structure for studying and comparing different organisms, identifying patterns of relationships, and gaining insights into the evolution and complexity of life. It enables scientists to understand the diversity and unity of living organisms and contributes to our understanding of the natural world. What is a taxon in biology? A. A unit of classification. B. A plant species. C. An animal species. D. A genus. The correct answer is A. A unit of classification. In biology, a taxon, plural, taxa, is a unit of classification used to group organisms into various categories based on their shared characteristics and evolutionary relationships. Taxa are the building blocks of the hierarchical system of classification, allowing scientists to organize and categorize living organisms in a systematic and organized manner. Each taxon represents a specific level within the classification system. The major taxonomic levels, from most specific to most general, are species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, and kingdom. Organisms within the same taxon share more similarities with each other than with organisms in different taxa. For example, a species is the most specific taxonomic level, representing a group of individuals that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. A genus is a higher taxonomic level that includes related species with similar characteristics. A family is an even broader taxonomic level, comprising multiple genera with shared characteristics, and so on. What is the lowest category in the taxonomic hierarchy of all organisms? A. Kingdom. B. Phylum. C. Class. D. Species. The correct answer is D. Species. In the taxonomic hierarchy, species is the lowest and most specific category. It is the fundamental unit of classification and represents a group of individuals that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring under natural conditions. Species are the basic building blocks of biodiversity, and they are unique and distinct from one another in terms of their morphology, genetics, behavior, and ecological roles. The taxonomic hierarchy, from most specific to most general, is as follows. Species: a genus, a family, order, a class, a phylum, a kingdom. Each species is grouped into a genus, and genera are further organized into families, and so on, progressing up the taxonomic hierarchy. The hierarchical structure allows for a systematic organization and understanding of the relationships and diversity of living organisms on Earth. The species level is crucial in taxonomy because it represents the level at which new biological diversity arises through speciation, the formation of new species. It is also the level at which most biological research and conservation efforts are focused, since species represent the individual units that interact with their environment and contribute to the functioning of ecosystems. How are organisms placed in various taxonomic categories? A. By knowing their habitats. B. By observing their behaviors. C. By identifying their characters. D. By measuring their size. The correct answer is C. By identifying their characters. Organisms are placed in various taxonomic categories based on the identification and evaluation of their shared characteristics or characters. Taxonomists, scientists who specialize in taxonomy, study and compare the physical features, genetic traits, anatomical structures, behaviors, and other attributes of different organisms to determine their classification. By analyzing these shared characteristics, for example, two organisms that share a high number of similar characters are more likely to belong to the same species. As the similarities decrease and differences increase, they may be placed in different species but within the same genus. As we move up the taxonomic hierarchy, the number of shared characters decreases, resulting in broader taxonomic categories. What is the genus for human beings? A. Homo. B. Sapiens. C. Panthera. D. Felis. The correct answer is A. Homo. The genus for human beings is Homo. In the binomial nomenclature system used for biological names, the first word represents the genus to which the species belongs. For modern humans, the scientific name is Homo sapiens, where Homo is the genus name and sapiens is the specific epithet for our species. In this naming system, the genus name is always written first and starts with a capital letter. The specific epithet, representing the individual species within the genus, follows in lowercase. The next question is: what is the primary purpose of taxonomic studies of various species of plants and animals? A. To understand human resources. B. To study their behavior. C. To know their diversity and bioresources. D. To preserve and store information and specimen. The correct answer is C. To know their diversity and bioresources. By studying the diversity of species, taxonomists gain insights into the variety of life forms on Earth, their distribution, and their relationships with other organisms. This knowledge is crucial for understanding the ecological roles of different species, their interactions within ecosystems, and their contributions to biodiversity. Additionally, taxonomic studies help identify and catalog bioresources, which include various plant and animal species that have practical applications for human needs. Bioresources can provide valuable products like food, medicine, fibers, and materials, as well as services like pollination, water purification, and pest control. Understanding the taxonomy and distribution of these resources is essential for sustainable management and conservation efforts. Next, what is the purpose of herbarium? A. Storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. B. Garden for growing and identifying plants. C. Museum for preserved animal specimens. D. Place for observing wild animals. The correct answer is a storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. A herbarium is a place or institution that serves as a storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. These specimens are collected by botanists and plant enthusiasts from various locations, and they are carefully processed, dried, and mounted on sheets of paper. The specimens are then labeled with relevant information, such as the species name, location, date of collection, and the collector's name. Herbaria are essential tools for botanical research, education, and conservation. They provide a comprehensive reference collection of plant species, allowing scientists and researchers to study and compare different plants, verify identifications, and document the distribution and variation of plant species over time and across geographical regions. Next, what is the purpose of herbarium? A. Storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. B. Garden for growing and identifying plants. C. Museum for preserved animal specimens. D. Place for observing wild animals. The correct answer is a storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. A herbarium is a place or institution that serves as a storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. These specimens are collected by botanists and plant enthusiasts from various locations, and they are carefully processed, dried, and mounted on sheets of paper. The specimens are then labeled with relevant information, such as the species name, location, date of collection, and the collector's name. Herbaria are essential tools for botanical research, education, and conservation. They provide a comprehensive reference collection of plant species, allowing scientists and researchers to study and compare different plants, verify identifications, and document the distribution and variation of plant species over time and across geographical regions. What is the purpose of botanical gardens? A. Storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. B. Garden for growing and identifying plants. C. Museum for preserved animal specimens. D. Place for observing wild animals. The correct answer is B. Garden for growing and identifying plants. The purpose of botanical gardens is to serve as a garden for growing and displaying a wide variety of plants, including both native and exotic species. These gardens are dedicated to the cultivation, conservation, and study of plants for educational, research, and recreational purposes. Botanical gardens typically feature an extensive collection of plant species, carefully arranged and labeled to provide valuable information to visitors, students, and researchers. They may showcase plants from various regions of the world, as well as plants with specific ecological, medicinal, or economic significance. Next, what is the purpose of biological museums? A. Storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. B. Garden for growing and identifying plants. C. Museum for preserved plant and animal specimens. D. Place for observing wild animals. The correct answer is C. Museum for preserved plant and animal specimens. The purpose of biological museums, also known as natural history museums or biological collections, is to serve as repositories for preserved plant and animal specimens. These museums collect, preserve, and display a wide range of specimens, including plant specimens, animal specimens, fossils, minerals, and other natural history items. Biological museums play a crucial role in the documentation and study of biodiversity, providing a valuable resource for scientific research, education, and public outreach. The specimens in these museums are carefully prepared, preserved, and curated to retain their scientific value and integrity. Next, what is the purpose of zoos? A. Storehouse of dried and preserved plant specimens. B. Garden for growing and identifying plants. C. Museum for preserved animal specimens. D. Place for observing wild animals in protected environments. The correct answer is D. Place for observing wild animals in protected environments. The purpose of zoos is to provide a controlled and protected environment for observing and displaying wild animals to the public. Zoos are designed to offer visitors an opportunity to see a diverse range of animal species from around the living organisms, which might not be possible in their natural habitats. B. No. The correct answer is A. Yes. Growth is indeed a defining property of living organisms. One of the fundamental characteristics that distinguishes living organisms from non-living entities is their ability to grow and develop. Living organisms undergo a process of growth, where they increase in size and complexity over time, driven by internal processes such as cell division, differentiation, and metabolism. In contrast, non-living things do not exhibit growth in the same way living organisms do. While some non-living objects, like crystals, may grow by adding more material, this growth is not accompanied by the complex organization and development seen in living organisms. Therefore, growth is a crucial and defining property of living organisms that sets them apart from non-living entities. What is a couplet in taxonomy? A. A system of storing plant specimens. B. A choice made between two opposite options in identification. C. A label providing information about a plant specimen. D. A manual providing information about plant species. The correct answer is B. A choice made between two opposite options in identification. In taxonomy, a couplet is a pair of contrasting statements or choices provided in a taxonomic key. Taxonomic keys are tools used to identify and classify organisms based on their observable characteristics or traits. Each couplet in the key presents two options, and the user must select the option that best matches the characteristics of the organism being identified. For example, in a plant identification key, a couplet may be structured as follows. 1. Leaves are broad and flat. 2. Leaves are needle-like or scale-like. In this example, the first couplet presents a choice between broad and flat leaves or needle-like or scale-like leaves. The user examines the plant's leaves and selects the appropriate option to proceed to the next couplet or reach the final identification. Couplets are an essential part of taxonomic keys as they provide a systematic and efficient way to identify a wide range of organisms based on their observable characteristics. By making choices at each couplet, the user can narrow down the options and eventually arrive at the correct identification of the organism. Next, what is the purpose of flora in taxonomy? A. To provide information about the habitat and distribution of plants in a given area. B. To record the descriptions of plant and animal specimens. C. To identify the names of species found in an area. D. To provide information on any one taxon. The correct answer is A. To provide information about the habitat and distribution of plants in a given area. The purpose of a flora in taxonomy is to provide comprehensive information about the plant species found in a specific geographic area or region. A flora is essentially a systematic and descriptive inventory or catalog of the plants occurring in that particular location. A typical flora includes detailed information about various plant species, such as their scientific names, taxonomic classification, common names, morphological descriptions, ecological characteristics, habitat preferences, geographic distribution, and sometimes information on their uses by humans or other organisms. Florists are valuable references for botanists, ecologists, conservationists, and other scientists interested in the plant diversity of a particular region. They provide a comprehensive overview of the plant life in that area, helping researchers understand the ecological communities and plant associations, and aiding in conservation efforts. In summary, the purpose of a flora in taxonomy is to provide a comprehensive account of the plant species in a specific area, offering valuable information for ecological studies, conservation initiatives, and taxonomic research. Therefore, the correct answer is option A. To provide information about the habitat and distribution of plants in a given area. What is a monograph used for in taxonomy? A. To provide information on any one taxon. B. To identify plants and animals based on similarities and dissimilarities. C. To study the distribution of plants in a given area. D. To preserve plant specimens. The correct answer is A. To provide information on any one taxon. A monograph in taxonomy is a specialized and detailed document that provides comprehensive information about a specific group of organisms, such as a family, genus, or species. It describes the characteristics, diversity, distribution, and evolutionary history of the taxon under study. Monographs are valuable resources for scientists and those interested in biodiversity, as they offer in-depth insights into the biology and classification of the organisms within the group. Subscribe today, and let BioAcademy be your trusted partner in turning your NET aspirations into a reality. Don't miss this chance to embark on a fulfilling journey toward becoming a medical professional. Subscribe now and take the first step towards a brighter future.